Welcome to our show host series. This week, I'm going to talk to you about something that's been on my mind quite a bit, especially for show hosts who want to become paid media hosts. And so this can be a little different. I'm tailoring this video today to personal brands who have been around for 20 plus years. They have a large audience already. They're what I would call a maven. And if you remember from way back in the beginning of this series, we did videos on each of the three personal brand show host types, the expert, the curator, and the maven. So I'm kind of revisiting the maven today because I think if you are in this specific subset of personal brands, a lot of the advice you might get about podcasting from other folks won't quite apply because you're in a special group already as far as how well known you are, how many people are already following you, and the kind of opportunities that can come to you. So let me explain what I mean here. If you have been doing what you're doing, coaching, consulting, teaching, writing, speaking, making media, creating, blogging for 15, 20 plus years, like early internet days for the general consumer and on, like, let's say you've been doing this since 2010 online. Like, people know who you are in your niche. You have a large following of people who are actively reading, listening, watching to what you say. Anytime you speak at an event, people show up because they want to see you. When you do a collaboration with someone, it goes really well because you have a lot of people who are excited every time you drop something new. It might look like having a big social media following, but it might not. And if you do have a big social media following, it is something that you built yourself, and you know every milestone you reach because it probably took you over 10 years to build hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. You likely understand email list building very well. You've probably been doing it a very long time. You probably understand writing and blogging really well and the power of that. But you may not have gotten into podcasting yet. And so that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, because I want to bridge the gap. This is a conversation I have pretty regularly with mavens who have built a very powerful, loyal, robust audience online for decades, and they haven't stepped into podcasting and YouTubing. It can feel like, how does this connect? Like, I have so much savvy. I've been so successful. People really know and like my stuff. I've done it the right way. I've put in the time. But I don't want to just get into podcasting and start from scratch and pay a bunch of money, essentially working for free, to start over. If this is you, listen up, because I have some tips for you. And this is based on conversations I've had even in the last few months with mavens who have been watching the space for a while and are like, yeah, what is the opportunity here? Podcasting was like, nobody knew what it was. And then a lot of people knew what it was. And now a ton of people know what it is. The difference for you that is separate from people who are starting off with like very little audience or a very recent audience who maybe they don't have that depth of relationship with that you do with yours, is that podcasting is really intimate. And it allows your audience who knows and loves you to spend so much more time with you than any other medium you've probably tried so far. They'll spend more time with you than they will reading your blog or your emails or even your book. Once they finish your book, they're probably not going to reread it. And even if they do, what is that, like 10 hours, of content? A podcast will allow you to take that relationship you've built for decades with the people who respect and value you and deepen it very quickly in a pretty unique way, because they could spend like hours of time with you every week once you've built up that catalog of episodes. I'm going to speak about podcasting in kind of general terms. This could apply to audio or audio and video. So that's one thing I want you to think about when you consider podcasting. Like, podcasting will let me spend more time with my audience than anything I've ever done before, because you can, in a very intimate way, broadcast your thoughts, your messages, your conversations to the people who love. And it's in some ways quicker than writing those emails, obviously quicker than writing a book. It doesn't replace them. It doesn't. It's different. It lets you go deep and intimate and spend a lot of time. And so this might be an interesting medium for you to explore if you feel like I've been featured on so many other people's podcasts, so many other people's TV shows, YouTube shows, radio shows, interview series, master classes. Like, you have probably spent a lot of time being interviewed and creating media for other people on their platforms. And what podcasting would allow you to do is to make that same quality of media on your own platform that would be evergreen, meaning it would be just as relevant for people to discover and find and binge a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now as today. And if your ears are kind of perking up, it's probably because you know your email list is incredibly powerful, incredibly important, but people aren't going to go read the archives, most likely. People will binge podcast archives in a very unique way. And so every time you record an episode, you're actually making content that could be just as discoverable and listened to or watched years from now. I would think of it more like your book, if you've done a book. Second thing I want you to think about, if you're this special type of maven, is that there is a monetization opportunity for podcasting that is similar to sponsorships for blogs or sponsorships for social media, but there's something a little maybe more attractive about it. If you have a large enough audience from the beginning or very soon, when I say large, I mean like tens of thousands of people are listening to every episode of your show, you can net, I'll just speak in net terms because that's more interesting. You can net about $17 CPM, so per 1,000 downloads in podcasting world. And that's a little different than YouTube. YouTube varies quite a bit, and YouTube views can go up and down dramatically based on the video. Podcast episodes typically get consistent downloads. If anything, they might spike up if you have like a really, high profile guest, but typically you're going to get really consistent podcast downloads once your audience has been established on that medium. And so you can have a pretty steady CPM guarantee when you're trying to run your numbers and your cash flow. And so this is interesting because not only can you run ads on your new episodes, you can run ads on your archive for when people discover it. And typically podcast hosts that are running ads both on their new episodes and their archive are probably working with an agency or a network partner to manage podcasts, but you don't have to. You can actually manage these yourselves through an app like the ASA Collective, which is awesome. It's one of the only independent ad marketplaces for podcasters for shows of any size. And they will pay out $17 per 1,000 downloads, and tons of sponsors place ads through their marketplace. So I want you to just think about kind of what your knowledge and savvy, if you've come from the blogging world or the social media world and sponsorship deals. What's kind of uniquely awesome about podcasting is you can have a pretty consistent CPM with pretty consistent downloads, and you can run ads on your archive as well as your new episodes. Now, you don't usually hear me talk about sponsorships on our channel in this series because most people aren't in the position to command that size of audience yet. But if you are there is kind of a consistent cash flow that's a little bit different than YouTube ads, social media sponsorships, or even your blog sponsors and ads. Okay, third thing I want you to consider if you're a maven with a large audience who hasn't dipped your toe in podcasting yet is this. The skill set you can develop by hosting your own show is very transferable to other interesting opportunities. And I'll tell you what I mean. If you've been hosting your own podcast for even like a year, you have like a good body of episodes, you've gotten your feet under you, you've learned like the technology, you understand delivery, you kind of understand how the mediums work, you've done some interviews or you've done, co-hosting. That is a very attractive media host for a brand to approach if they want to do some type of media themselves, but they are looking for a brand safe partner who has media training in the digital space, and they would like it to be someone who already has a large audience, is kind of well known and respected. If they can listen or watch your podcast and see that you have it, you are so attractive to them to partner with, because a lot of times bigger brands who are in your space would like to create media and they have budget for it, but they don't often have in-house the right personality. Like their marketing team or an executive team probably doesn't have like the type of personality that becomes a personal brand and garners large audiences. So they are more and more looking for partners to host their shows or host their series. This could be podcasts, this could be video classes, this could be live events. They might be looking for moderation partners, interview partners. This makes you very attractive because you not only have like built the skill set yourself, but they can see it. And they know that you're savvy enough about digital media and you have this large audience and you've been doing it for a long time. But now you have the skill that they're looking for, which is like audio, video hosting of conversation, delivering ideas and content that's longer form. That makes you very attractive. So I'm just going to leave those 3 ideas with you today. This is a conversation I love having with Mavens. I am happy to hop on the phone with you at any time just to talk through ideas and give you the lay of the land in more depth. You can always email me, Christine@worthfulmedia.com, or leave a comment. But I know this was kind of a niche video today, and I didn't want to leave out those of us in the audience who are in that unique place where you have put in those decades of time to build up that reputation, build up that audience, build up those skills, and you're interested in podcasting, but you're trying to figure out how to monetize and take all the work you've done for so many years and immediately translate it. Those are 3 things I want you to consider. We'll wrap it there for today. If you have questions or comments, leave them on the video. Subscribe to the channel, obviously. We have a lot of exciting stuff to bring you in future videos.